What? What do you want? Speak, for Christ's sake. Speak! Speak!
Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Stokes, and welcome to Fort Myers Health Rant. It's Thursday afternoon, and I'm sitting in my clinic.
Oh my god, stop speaking. Oh, inane waffle is not what I wanted. God damn it, man. You're a doctor, not a breakfast machine.
I'm in between patients, and I want to give a very short rant about magnets.
Sorry, is this third grade science? I mean, magnets are cool and all, but nothing. Magnets are freaking awesome.
And their use in healing.
Oh no. Healing magnets? This is a dumb video. Maybe you are just a waffle iron.
So, magnets definitely work.
Fucking magnets, they work.
If anyone is experienced in physics, if you've studied nuclear medicine, like I have, then you know that magnetic fields have a huge influence on living tissue. Several hundred years ago, the magnetic field of the Earth was around 4 Gauss. Gauss is just a term they use to determine, it's a factor they use to determine the strength. So it was 4. The human body has a field of about 1 Gauss.
Alright, I'll take your word for that. Hopefully it won't bite you in the arse later when, say, somehow your ideas run completely counter to reality or just plain sense, even based on your own logic. Look, I'm not saying that's definitely what's going to happen, just that's definitely what's going to happen.
Well, the field of the Earth now is much less. It's not 4 anymore. Now it's about half a Gauss.
Oh my god, that's completely normal and expected fluctuations. It'll go up too. Doesn't really change its healing effect on you, because 10 times pretty much nothing is just more pretty much nothing. And yes, that maths does check out, because I used letters instead of numbers. Checkmate, algebra mists.
So just walking around on the planet creates a drain on our magnetic field. So there's definitely an influence.
My god, he's right. Look, I found this extremely scientific documentary.
Place your hands above the rails. They're magnetized.
How can anyone disbelieve now in the power of magnets?
On our atoms and on our electrons and our magnetics.
So, you just say words and hope people think you know what you mean, right? I love it. It's so effluvium the way you latericiously the pandiculation. And I mean it too.
The problem with magnets as a healing modality.
They don't work? I mean, there are proper medical procedures that use electromagnets to do, actual things that work. But you aren't talking about those. You're talking about hunks of magnetic material that do essentially nothing on their own, except be radical and bodacious at sticking to things.
Is that most people get the wrong magnets, and they don't use strong enough magnets.
Oh, I see. So whenever it doesn't work, you can always say that it just wasn't strong enough magnet. That's a clever way to skirt around the issue when someone tries to heal something that wasn't just going to fix itself anyway, or that the placebo effect just didn't help. Like with all alternative medicines.
Okay, so you kill the odd patient with cancer or heart disease, or bronchitis, flu, chickenpox, or measles. But when someone comes in with a vague sense of unease, or a touch of the nerves, or even just more money than sense, you'll be there for them.
So let me just talk first of all about strength. A typical fridge magnet has a strength of around 50 Gauss.
Wow, that's 100 times that of Earth's current magnetic field. And still, 12.5 times the strength when it was raised all those hundreds of years ago. They must be great at doing a healing.
And it's too weak to do anything.
Yeah, I knew it would be fantastic. Wait, what?
And it's too weak to do anything.
But it's multiple times the strength. That doesn't make any sense. I'm so confuzzled.
For healing and for influencing the tissue of your body, you need to have a field of at least 3,500 gauss.
3,500? Are you insane? If having only half our magnetic field in proximity will drain it from us, then surely having 3,500 times the amount that we generate will give us too much. Why, we will explode from all that magnetic fieldiness. Here, I've prepared an extremely scientific demonstration. Terrifying.
The magnets that I use clinically, which are bar magnets, like this, they're not multipolar magnets.
That is clearly a bar of soap. You can't trick me with your fake soap magnets, you charlatan.
And what that means is that one side of the magnet is the South Pole, and the other side over here is the North Pole. So they're not magnets that are multipolar. You have to be able to distinguish between the North and the South Pole, or the North and the South magnetic field to get the proper tissue response.
Okay, so there's a lot to unravel there, but the main thing is that tissue response thing. Do you know why magnets like that are strong? All their atoms are aligned to the same magnetic field, neatly pointing in the same direction, and having them all lined up means that they don't cancel each other out, creating a more cohesive and thus stronger magnetic field in its total. A simple way to think about it is if you had a box of identical magnets and you just tossed them in any old which way, you wouldn't get much of a magnetic field out of that box, because they will largely cancel each other out. But if you set them all up neatly facing in the same way, you're not going to have that cancelling out effect, resulting in a sort of stacked magnetism. Now, the reason I'm going into this is the body is full of atoms with their electrons going every which way. There is no cohesion, just chaos. Hence, such a low magnetic field from the body. So how the ever-loving boy Jesus is any magnet going to affect that mess? Long story short, it's not, and you are full of crap.
These magnets, one magnet, is 3,900 gauss.
Oof, 3,900, that's a clear 400 gauss above the minimum. Impressive, I think.
So they're quite powerful, and they just look like this. Inside the plastic container, there's an actual bar magnet. And again, this is the south field, and this is the north field. When you're using magnets, you always want to use the north field anytime you want to
pretend like what you're doing with these magnetic hunks wrapped in plastic actually has any rhyme or reason as to what you are doing.
Relax tissue. Anytime you want to have an anti-inflammatory effect on tissue or slow down a tissue response, you use the north field.
Okay, so again, the human body has a weak field because of aforementioned higgledy-piggledy atoms, and unless something has a decent magnetic field or is comprised of ferromagnetic material, then even very strong magnets are going to have little to no effect on whatever you're trying to do your witchcraft on.
Whenever we want to speed up tissue response or stimulate the system, then we want to use a south field. And this is very important. So if you've just injured your body, if you've injured your ankle, for example, and you're wanting to speed up the healing of the tissue, you would use a north field.
Absolute gibbering nonsense. There's a very good reason why when you visit a #RealDoctorTM that there's nary a hint of magnets mentioned, and merely insane things like bandaging and keeping wounds clean, etc. Almost like those things work.
You would not want to use a south field. A south field would make it worse.
No, it wouldn't, thankfully, because you see, things need to have any effect at all for them to be bad for you either way. It's like magic, only real.
Use the north field. We do that for several days until the inflammation calms down. Then we'll use a south field to speed up the healing or speed up the repair of the tissue.
I mean, I guess you're going for the, well, if I bore them all to sleep, they won't notice how much hot garbage I'm talking. But you know what we haven't done yet? Let's see what credentials Dr. Do Nothing has. Dr. Stephen Stokes, BS, DC, Phyema. BS? I feel like even your title is trying to call you out. Dr. Stokes' educational background includes an honours degree in human biology from St. Louis University. BS. Honest degree in biology. Okay, it's weird that you don't understand how the magnetic field of a human body works, although I guess that's technically physics, so I'll let that go. Also, why haven't you opened with your doctorate, Doctor? He holds an EMT/paramedic training through PERCOM. Okay, EMT, paramedic training. I mean, that's medical. Still not a doctorate. A Doctor of Chiropractic degree. Oh, for crying out loud. Of course that's how you're calling yourself a doctor. And I'm sorry to the 12 of you who really like my channel otherwise, but also think that chiropractic totally isn't woo. It is. It just is. And no matter how nice your masseuse who decided to call himself a chiropractor and doesn't go with the absolute gibbering insanity that is the basis of the practice, it's still born of woo, and no matter how much you want it to be true, that ain't changing. Go look up the difference between a chiropractor and an MD, and also how closely associated to things you probably do accept as nonsense that the practice is associated. It's staggeringly common. Whereas 99% of medical doctors will not touch that crap with a barge pole. Sorry to go on a tangent, but I'm sick of being told that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to chiropractors. I do. And you probably think I don't, because it's managed to claw its way into some kind of good standing. But the pure chiropractic arts have no basis in science, and there's a reason why we don't let these people prescribe proper medicines.
Now, 3,900 gauze, which is one magnet, is very strong compared to 50 gauze, which is the fridge magnet. But in my opinion, it's usually not strong enough. So what I like to do is I like to put the magnets together like this.
He's a madman! Someone stop him before he kills us all!
And I just put them on top of each other.
Just kidding, they're only bleeding magnets, you soft git.
And by doubling them up, I go from 3,900 gauze to 7,800 gauze. And we can even stack, if we wanted to, 4 of these, and we would get 15,000 gauze of strength, which is...
Nope. If this is medicine, as you allege, if you aren't accurate, people would die. Unless, of course, it's total horseplops, where fill your boots. Just make sure you keep taking your actual prescribed proper medicines, just in case. Then when you actually do heal what ails you, don't forget to mention that you did that stuff too, instead of attributing your health to unprovable jibber jabber. Okay, thanks, bye.
That's a really strong magnet. An MRI unit, which many of you have heard about MRI units or you've had MRIs, the MRI unit uses a magnet, and it uses a magnetic field of about 70,000 gauze.
Right, and what is it used for? It's not for healing. MRI means magnetic resonance imaging, not super duper Healy magnet woohoo. So it's got nothing to do with your claims. You going to bring that up, or just let that false equivalence hang in the air like a bad smell?
That's very high, but then again, just 4 of these is 15,000 to give you an idea. So, and the MRI, of course, is the MRI is about a $1 million magnet. These are much less expensive, much less expensive.
Okay, so you're not explaining what it does, but that even if your claimed effects were true, they are not even doing remotely the same thing. Just because you had, say, 18 of those bars to make up that 70,000 gauze does not and could never possibly hope to compare to the job that an MRI does. And the fact that you sit there hinting at that comparison is the final nail that I need to show what a dishonest little dirtbag you really are. MRIs cost so much money because they are pretty sophisticated pieces of technology that require training to operate and engineers to maintain. And your blocks of magnetic cat crap are just big magnets that do basically nothing for the human body. But god damn do you wish you ever had the fraction of the credibility of one of those MRI techs. I am done with you. Get lost, doctor. Are you tired of not being famous, handsome and good at the sex? Well, you need brand new extra strength Sick brand merch. Sick brand merch is the only merchandise with artwork created by the famous, womansome and almost as good at the sex, Mrs. Sick. And running the store is basically her job now, so if you don't buy something, you must hate her. And by extension, all women. You don't want to be a woman hater, do you? Sick brand merch. Because you're better than that.